Hello, I'm Moira Alderson with the BBC News. Sri Lanka's President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has fled the country with members of his family following months of mass protests over the island's economic crisis. He flew out on a military jet days after his home was overrun with protesters and he went into hiding. Rajini Vaidyanathan reports.
The end of an era for a political dynasty which ruled this island for decades. Once much loved, Gotabaya Rajapaksa was brought down by a financial crisis, blamed for mismanaging the economy and leaving millions struggling for food and fuel. As former Defence Secretary, he was accused of brutally crushing Tamil rebels at the end of the country's civil war. Many in Sri Lanka will be pleased President Rajapaksa has finally left. Others say he should have stayed to be held accountable for the crimes they're accusing him of.
Gotabaya Rajapaksa's brother, the former finance minister Basil Rajapaksa, has also left the country. The Ukrainian authorities say they're increasing the export of grain through formerly disused ports and canals on the Danube River Delta between Ukraine and Romania. Ian McWilliam has more details.
Ukraine has repaired and upgraded the small river ports of Reni and Izmail on the lower Danube and two canals across the delta connecting the Danube to the Black Sea coast. Together with Ukraine's recapture from Russia of Snake Island in the Black Sea, this means it's now safe for ships to pick up grain from the river ports and ship it on to world markets via the Bosphorus. These ports are too small to clear the vast backlog of grain stuck in Ukrainian silos by Russia's blockade of Ukraine's main Black Sea ports, but these alternative routes enabled Ukraine to export 2.5 million tonnes of grain in June, nearly half the normal pre-war monthly amount.
The Congressional Committee investigating the January the 6th storming of the US Capitol has heard witnesses describe a meeting between Donald Trump and his aides a month before the riot as unhinged. In the latest hearing, a pre-recorded testimony by Donald Trump's former White House counsel revealed how Mr. Trump ignored his advice to concede the 2020 election. But some aides claimed election fraud, which led to a huge shouting match at the White House. Jason Van Tatenhove is a former member of a far-right extremist group called the Oath Keepers, who turned up on that day. He told the committee he now feared for the next election.
Who knows what that might bring if a president that's willing to try to instill and encourage, to whip up a civil war amongst his followers using lies and deceit and snake oil, and regardless of the human impact, what else is he going to do if he gets elected again? All bets are off at that point.
World News from the BBC. Twitter is suing Elon Musk in an attempt to force through the completion of his $44 billion deal to buy the social media giant. Earlier, the Tesla chief announced he was retracting his offer because he was not given information about the number of fake and spam accounts on the platform. Days of clashes between rival gangs in Haiti's biggest shantytown have led to the deaths of dozens of people. Hundreds more are reported to have been injured and thousands remain trapped in the Cité Soleil, an impoverished neighbourhood outside the capital, Port-au-Prince, without access to clean water, food or electricity. The authorities said people were at risk of dying of hunger. The head of the World Health Organization has warned that a new wave of coronavirus infections shows the pandemic is nowhere near over. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said the virus was running freely. He was speaking at a WHO committee meeting, which said there was a rising risk of new, fitter variants emerging.
Countries are not effectively managing the disease burden based on their capacity in terms of both hospitalization for acute cases and the expanding number of people with post-COVID-19 condition, often referred to as long COVID. There is a major disconnect in COVID-19 risk perception between scientific communities, political leaders, and the general public.
Ivory Coast has accused Mali of unjustly detaining 49 of its soldiers and has called for them to be released. Mali's military government seized the men at Bamako airport on Sunday, calling them mercenaries. But the Ivorian authorities say none were carrying weapons and that they went to Mali to join UN peacekeeping operations there. The junta in Mali, which is trying to put down an Islamist insurgency, says its foreign ministry was not informed by official channels.